Hello, Internet, and welcome once again to the Free-to-Play cast brought to you by MMOBomb.com, your home for all things free-to-play related. I'm your host, Mike Byrne, aka magicman, and this is episode 281. We're recording on November 8th. You're watching it on the 9th or later, and we've got rapid-fire news. We've got our Blizzcon wrap-up, and we got, what the hell, Bless? Seriously? And to cover it all, I have my usual padres, my usual amigos. Padres, that's fathers, isn't it? Padres?
I'm Luke.
Yeah.
I am
That's
your
fathers.
father.
Amigos. We'll go with amigos. Mr. Jason Winter.
Compadre.
Compadres.
Compadre.
That's what my brain was
There you
looking
go.
for. Thank you.
Yeah,
Jason, how are you, sir?
I'm doing okay, but look, kids, this is what happens when you only eat the green M&Ms. Eat them all. Eat all flavors.
There is some Halloween left in the winter household. Also on the line, albeit maybe a little bit out of sync due to some Skype and Wi-Fi fun, Ms. Quinlan Bowers. What's up, Q?
Do you know that drinking too much Tang will actually turn you orange?
Yeah, and asparagus changes your pea color. Beets can cause you to be very scared after you take a poo. So just if you take a poo and you get scared, if you remember that you had beets, it's okay. Trust me, you're gonna be fine. But for a minute, you might. Oh my God! Don't call a doctor.
That's why I never eat beets. That's the sole reason.
Right, that's the sole reason, and that's what we're here for, to give you all the foods that will change the colors of your body and its functions. So let's slide over and get started with real free-to-play news. All right, so we didn't have a show last week. Again, we ran into one of those kind of everybody was shutting the hell up awaiting BlizzCon weeks. And then this past weekend, we had BlizzCon. And then we got a little bit of news. So I kind of put it all together. We're going to do a little mini rapid fire round. So we're going to start off with what was big news on our last episode, and it was our question of the week regarding Gamigo's buyout of Trion Worlds and our predictions for those games. And now, fast forward 2 weeks later, and I'm here to tell you that we have so much more. No, we don't. We don't. We got almost nothing. Not quite nothing, but almost. So, Jason, 2 weeks ago, we reviewed the buyout. We thought it kind of making a bit of a prediction when Gamigo's announcement did not have Atlas Reactor listed as something that Trion Worlds was known for. Was it just an oversight? Was it a smaller title, so they didn't include it there? Was it not part of the purchase? We don't know. We were just speculating on that. But we didn't know what was going to happen with some other games. And Q, something you brought up was that, hey, XL Games had to be part of this discussion. I mean, they had to be part of it. ArcAge is published by Trion, but developed by XL Games. And so we do have a little bit of news on that front, Q, which kind of surprised us all, right?
Yeah, I am officially disappointed in Trion on that respect. Just not bothering to let the people that they were partners with know that they were selling out is super shady.
I thought it was hysterical. I didn't think it was right, but I thought it was hysterical. They were just as shocked at the buyout as all of us were. They were literally just as shocked, and that word is in quotes. Let me give it to you. So this was from XL Games CEO. The CEO, Jake Song, was as surprised by the move as everyone else. Seriously, this was Jake Song's message, and they posted it on the ArcAge forums on behalf of XL Games. It's really short, so I'll read you the whole thing, and then we'll get Jason and Q your take on this. Hello, all. I was shocked by the news about Trion Worlds. I'm sure you guys are too. It's a pity how things unfolded so suddenly. We are talking to Gamigo. My understanding is that the paperwork is almost done, and I believe the ArcAge team will provide you with an announcement with the new release date for 5.0 very soon. That is not my dog for once. Yay.
Girly.
Remember, 5.0 was delayed due to this purchase here in the West. I'm glad you enjoy playing ArcAge. I hope you know that your in-game entertainment is the most important thing to me. As time passed, the core element of fun in the game has diminished, and even though some players have moved on, I'm trying my best to revitalize ArcAge. We have been making small and big changes to the game more frequently, and with this momentum, I have faith that by sometime next year, we will fundamentally restore ArcAge to the way I pictured it in the past. Now, Jason, I gotta say that while we may laugh and snicker at the last two sentences of that statement, and it's revitalizing and restoring it, and it's not, there's pieces that aren't fun anymore. As an outsider, we may snicker and laugh. I think that's actually a pretty good statement for fans of ArcAge to read, who have expressed the same types of thoughts. Some of the more fun aspects of this game have been drained out. We would like to see some things changed. And those two statements kind of go along with, we recognize that, we agree with you, we're trying to do the same. So I think ArcAge fans could take a little bit of hope in those statements, even though outsiders like us might go, ha ha ha.
Yeah, I'm going ha ha because I didn't read the whole thing before, but now that I hear you say, the guy in charge of the game says, well, the fun has diminished over the years. It's like, really? Isn't that kind of what you're in control of to make sure it stays fun? But I mean, yeah, if I were a player, I think it's what everyone always talks about is, going back to the alpha or whatever. Before it was, pay to win or however the cash shop was set up, and frankly, they're not going to do that. We know that they're not going to interrupt their cash cow and actually pull out the things that people really hate. They'll just make it so. I've talked to the Trion Worlds team before and how they talked about talking with XL Games and trying to make things a little less painful, a little less. And I just don't think they're going to go. I don't think they're going to pull it back to the point that Western fans are really going to enjoy it and embrace it. I think what's in there, for the most part, is still going to be around. When it talks about more fun, I think it's going to be more like refining a few mechanics here and there. But I don't think, maybe they make it a little less grindy. But I don't think they're going to pull out things like how they handle labor points or completely change how they do the crafting when you lose materials or whatever. I would not be that optimistic, even as someone who hasn't played ArcAge, but at least has done all those interviews with Trion and seen the things that they've been talking about. I think it's going to be like one of those. I mean, some minor thing that makes it a little better, but I don't think a complete revamping that makes everyone happy.
Q, the flip side of that I just found stunning, and both you and I, when we were talking about it in Skype, were like, how does that even happen, is the first part of that statement, where they had no clue. They had no clue that their publisher in the West was now being sold.
I could kind of see it if you're a low-level employee. Right.
Right. This was the CEO.
But you're the CEO, you're the creator of the game, and you don't know that the people who are publishing your game are just, doing whatever. But it does lend too to what Jason was saying, where the whole, Trion said they'll discuss it with XL Games and blah, blah. What have they been discussing if they didn't discuss this? Have they been communicating at all?
Right. I mean, it's kind of stunning that something this high level. One of the other things that we learned regarding this situation this past week, Jason, and credit to MMO Fallout, I think is where I heard the story or read the story initially, that there was some legal stuff going on in the background prior to and up to this purchase as well with Trion Worlds. I believe it was in California, right, Jason?
Yeah, I mean, we reported on this a couple of months ago about some people upset with loot boxes or whatever it was, and as they continued their suit and so forth, the suit against Trion Worlds, they received or some paperwork was filed that said basically Trion Worlds no longer exists.
Yeah, that was the bizarre.
So your suit
point.
has to be changed up somehow. It's
we covered the suit months ago.
Yeah,
as part of our loot box coverage. The interesting part as it came into play here was the paperwork basically saying, "Hey, that company doesn't exist." And nobody knew. It said it was basically all dissolved. The Gamigo purchase, there were reports of 2 studios left with 25 people. This legal paperwork kind of didn't jive with that, saying that there's no employees left, not even the board of directors or leadership. I mean, it was really, really bizarre. And Gamigo has stayed silent, with one exception. Yesterday? No, 2 days ago. 2 days ago, they finally said something. And if you're a fan of one game, possibly a second, this is probably good news for you. But if you're a fan of any of the other ones, good luck getting some information. So Gamigo will be continuing development on Trove. I think that doesn't surprise any of us, given our predictions last week, right? That Trove was the cash cow for Trion, whether you like it or not. It was the moneymaker. So we all predicted that was going to survive. Not surprised to see that development will continue on that. Were you, Jason?
No.
Q, no surprises
so
from you?
much.
No, and it's also a game that I feel like just kind of fits Gamigo's
I agree.
identity.
Yep, I absolutely agree. Now, the team does acknowledge they're smaller. You know, Trove wasn't entirely not impacted here. The team is smaller, but of course they're putting the usual spin on that stuff, Jason, that, hey, now there's less people to have to communicate with. We're more agile. You know, it empowers our design. It's the usual spin that goes on with layoffs.
It's great
of
that
those
we have
type.
fewer employees. Yeah,
Right.
Awesome.
Here's the thing that I think might come as a downer for some, though, because Trove is one of the few games out there that, when it's on PC and console, they had finally caught the console version up to the PC version, and then we're releasing updates simultaneously across all platforms. That is no longer going to be the case. So now Trove will be back on what most free-to-play, the games that are on PC and consoles, do. PC will get an update, and then X weeks later, the consoles will get an update. They also had a little bit of news on ArcAge here, too, Jason. Not a lot, but a little.
Did they? Wait, what? That's not on the link.
I didn't give you the link?
No.
Well, that's my fault then. That is my fault then. Oh, no, never mind. I'm referencing what we already read. I read my own show notes incorrectly.
Okay, that's what I was wondering. I was
So
like,
we
wait,
already
did
got
just
the
talk about
ArcAge news.
ArcAge?
Yeah, Gamigo didn't comment
Wait, was
on
there
that.
more?
Yeah.
So that means we're still, if we take it that Trove is obviously continuing development, and ArcAge will likely continue development, whether or not it stays under Gamigo's umbrella, who knows, but will likely continue development for the foreseeable future. That leaves Atlas Reactor, Defiance 2050, and Rift all out in the cold. And
Now,
I will
they
tell
did
you
just-
that the longer this goes on, Jason, the less hope I think players for any of those games should have.
Like literally about an hour ago, I saw something about Rift. Hold on a sec. A smaller team. Let's see. While plans are being made for the future, we're going to be focusing the team on implementing quality of life improvements for Rift in the short term. That is apparently, a statement that just come out like an hour ago. So
And where is that? Rift forums?
that's on TrionWorlds.com. It's actually on their thing.
Oh, it's like on their news stuff.
Yeah. Here, let me.
Let's take a peek at that. That is news.
That actually is. Yeah, go to the Rift site.
Oh, yeah.
It's most of the same general stuff. We're doing work. We're going to have content updates. So
Yeah,
Things are happening.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
sounds
yeah.
to me though that it's.
well, they're not canceling it. That's how I.
Yeah,
took it.
they're not
It's like-
canceling it. Oh, so they did. They just finally put this up. Hey, Q, you probably want to cover this after the show.
I thought
Okay,
you noticed
sure.
it already, but it just came out. But yeah.
Greetings Ascended. We appreciate your patience. We take some time to solidify plans moving forward. There are a ton of moving parts in this transition. It's going to take us a bit of time to navigate, blah, blah, blah.
Blah, blah, blah.
We're with our smaller
Smaller team,
teams,
blah,
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 blah, blah. We can't share specific yet because there's still work being done behind the scenes to build a strong foundation for the future. It's on this foundation that all future updates will be built. This includes examining the health of our shard populations, looking at ways to make sure all of our players have the best possible experience in game. If you have feedback, throw it on the forum so we can ignore it. I'm sorry that they didn't say that. That's just me in my head on what would happen there. Just want to take another moment to thank you for your patience. Discuss this with us on our forums. Let's see if we've got any devs chiming in. So we got the community manager putting up the original post. And
They haven't attached names to anything. Anything.
No, nothing.
So no, I wouldn't expect it.
No, so this sounds more to me like a maintenance mode for at least the time being.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if they had any like major updates planned. So
Yeah. So I don't know. That doesn't give me a lot of hope as a Rift fan. And if I'm a Defiance 2050 fan or an Atlas Reactor fan, I'm even further
I just checked both their sites, and there's nothing new there.
Yeah,
so.
I've been poking their forums like every day just to see something, because I do believe that the longer you don't hear anything, the less likely it is that game's going to continue to be a thing. Because typically, right, when you buy a company, one of the first things you kind of do, if you intend to keep those products on for a while, even if they're going to go to a maintenance mode, is say, hey guys, we bought these, we know you're concerned, don't worry, these games aren't going anywhere right now.
Yeah.
You know, you normally have some type of presser like that, and it just hasn't happened. So
That is weird, even though it would take 2 weeks for stuff like this to come out. It's just,
yeah.
why?
So, bit weird, but we'll be keeping an eye on it, and we've got your feedback on our question of the week regarding this same issue down below, so we'll get to that in a little bit. Jason, let's move on to other rapid-fire news. I'm going to throw this one to you because you are all about NFL and you are all about Fortnite. Well, all right, maybe you're all about NFL.
I played Fortnite Battle Royale a couple times with you.
I shot you on accident.
Yeah, and so yeah, they're gonna do. They're gonna have uniforms now that you can get. You can actually deck your Fortnite characters out in officially licensed NFL uniforms. So, if you want to be Tom Brady or Peyton Manning or whatever in NFL, go right ahead, because you can put any uniform, any number, so you can have whatever, and go out and if you see Aaron Rodgers, please kill him. Thank you. So
hey, didn't some Saints get suspended, including a head coach, for that type of bounty shit, Jason?
that was against the Vikings. Yeah, and now that guy is the head coach in Cleveland, so F him. But anyway.
Yeah, that's a pretty big deal, I think. That's a big, that's a lot of money, obviously.
Well,
a lot of money exchanged hands for that type of partnership.
Is it bigger or is it less than when they did Thanos?
I think it's a little bigger. And
I guess the NFL does bring in like $9 billion annually. That's more than even
right. Well, I mean, like for people like Q, I think the Thanos promotion is obviously bigger because Q just doesn't care about sports ball at all. Right, Q? I'm not remiss in saying that you don't care about sports ball.
Okay, it's functioning again.
There we go.
No, I do not care about sports ball. I spent 9 years going to football games and marching band. I can't tell you how football works.
So, all right. So Thanos is obviously the bigger of the two promotions for Q. Cash-wise, though, I got to believe that a lot more was spent to acquire this type of promotion from the NFL.
At least they're getting a larger cut because, I mean, the Thanos thing, technically, I guess there wasn't really any money involved. Maybe they had dances or skins or something. No, they wouldn't even have skins. This, on the other hand, yeah, cash.
Moving on, I mean, there's not a lot to say here. Riot's getting sued. And I'm not all that, if we put it all together, the news about Riot for the last few months and like some of the, accusations of frat mentality and all of that type of things, I thought it was kind of only a matter of time until somebody followed those accusations through and filed suit. And here we are. Take it for what it's worth right now. There's not a lot of information on this, but one current and one former employee of Riot have filed suit against Riot Games on the basis that they were denied equal pay and found their careers stifled because they're women, and that they were negatively impacted due to sexually hostile working environment of Riot Games. They both believe they were passed over for promotions, that type of thing. Whether there's any truth to their claims, I certainly cannot vouch for any of that, and I don't think either of my two co-hosts either, and so we would be doing a disservice chiming in on what we think may or may not happen there. That's not really our place to get into. The reason I wanted to bring this up on the show is, one, it's Riot Games. This is a big free-to-play company. They're getting sued. Regardless of what the suit is about, it's gaming news. I don't care what you want to comment on the story. It's gaming news that Riot is getting sued for whatever reason. The one other thing that I do want to say is that they may have, they may totally be right in their accusations and everything, but I just generally think cases like this are really, really difficult to prove, aren't they? I mean, unless you have somebody being stupid in an email saying, I'm giving Jason this promotion instead of you, Q, because Q, you have boobs. These things are generally very, very difficult to prove. So I don't know if this is going to go anywhere. We'll have to watch it and see what kind of evidence. Am I off base there, Jason?
No, I think that's pretty much it. I mean, you're gonna have to have. I mean, I wonder if if you get enough people together, because we've already seen a lot of people come out and say things that there were 3 or 4 different blog posts that came out after the original Kotaku article. So maybe if you have enough corroborating evidence, other people feeling the same way, maybe that gets you somewhere. But yeah, otherwise you need that solid concrete proof like an email or whatever.
We will say, Q, that it is a civil suit, right? This is not criminal accusations. This is a civil suit, and so the bar of evidence of what you need is a bit lower than prove them guilty. But I still think these types of suits, male against a company, female against a company, with these types of accusations, they do kind of they get really difficult to prove. So it'll be interesting to see how it plays out.
I think with civil suits, though, you don't necessarily have to prove.
Yeah,
in
it's
a
a
lot of cases,
preponderance of evidence, not.
And it's making the like the jury
Yeah.
feel like a lot of it plays on sympathy, like who do they feel worse for, that kind of thing. A lot of those decisions are made that way. So
Yeah,
I mean,
I do think the thing going against Riot here, and again, this is not in response to the two that are filing this suit. I don't know them. I don't know their particular stories, and so I can't tell you. Yeah, they have a case or no, they don't have a case. I'm speaking generally. The one thing I will say, though, is I don't think it helps Riot, Jason, in the fact that they kind of have had public statements about, promising to make changes in their culture. And whether they've sat out and said, hey, we have done this, we haven't done this, we have done this, we haven't done these things in the past, and we're going to make them better. I think the minute you start to say, we're taking steps to improve things, that's a somewhat acknowledgement that there were things you needed to improve.
I mean, you kind of have to say that, though, based on everything
True.
that had come up before.
Yeah.
Now, granted, yes, maybe that bites you in the ass when legal issues come around, but
we'll see. I mean, we'll keep watching this one and letting you know what happens with Riot Games. But I'm sorry to some of our commenters. Once Riot gets sued, or Blizzard gets sued, or EA gets sued, we're going to report on that.
Heaven forbid we report news on
Right.
this site. God, how dare we?
Finally, last rapid fire. Q, I want to play this game so bad. Lost Ark is going.
Still have to wait.
I know. I still have a long wait. Lost Ark finally goes into open beta in South Korea. That doesn't do me a damn bit of good because I don't have a Korean social security number or anything like that. So I'm asked out. But I love Diablo. I love Path of Exile. I love ARPGs across the board, which is, hey, I was eager to hear about Wargaming's announcement today about their upcoming published ARPG. Sadly, it's a buy-to-play game, so we won't be talking about it much on the site, but I hope that's good. So I've been looking forward to Lost Ark, Q. It's finally in open beta in South Korea. Does this ever come to the West, Q?
I mean, it's one of those where you hope it does, and so many of these games do come to the West. The Westerners love ARPG style games, so maybe that's a plus on getting it over here, as opposed to some other games that everybody really seems to want but just never make it here. It's always a really hard guess on those, though, because it's like, yeah, okay, it's an ARPG, but it's an ARPG that looks like Ion, kind of.
It really does. Yeah, it's kind of got that pastel vibrancy, or almost a watercolory type look.
But shiny.
Yeah, will this be your roommate's new ARPG of choice? That's what we'll have to wait and see.
You know what? He's back in WoW at the moment.
All right.
So he's running dungeons in WoW right now. That's why I had to run around finding a headset. Otherwise, we would have heard his guildies. So
I know Jason couldn't care less about this title, so I'm going to use Q's WoW discussion as a segue to talk about BlizzCon. Not a ton of free-to-play news this year. Not a ton. I mean, they don't have a ton of titles. We got Heroes of the Storm. We got Hearthstone. That's pretty much it. So on the Heroes of the Storm side, Q, what did we hear out of BlizzCon this year?
Well, they have a new character. Actually, this one's really cool, though. It's not just like the whole pulling somebody from one of their mini games where they
Right.
have, I don't actually know how many characters they can just continue to pull from forever. It's actually a hero who was born in the Nexus. And was it you, Jason, that made
Yeah.
the comment that it's surprising that this hasn't happened before? Like, characters from the individual games just hook up and have kids in the Nexus.
Well, there's a lot of downtime. I mean, if you're not in that match,
Yeah, what else are you going to do?
what's up,
You gotta
Jaina?
understand- Maybe the Nexus has a televised system where you can watch other people's matches.
I thought you were going to say that televised system to watch other people out when they're not doing the matches and making the babies. I was like, wait a second now.
So this is kind of mid-range assassin-y, right?
Yeah, with a kind of a death abilities and the like. She looks, pretty cool. She's the daughter of like the guy who drags everybody into the Nexus apparently, and he's really kind of pissed off at her that she's back.
Uh-oh. We don't know who Mom is, though, do we?
No, we don't. No, they haven't said who.
That's Jaina.
It's Jaina.
So Ravenlord hopped over to Azeroth.
No,
Hooked up
Jaina's
with
in the Nexus.
No. This girl, though, like all of the people being sucked in happened after Orphea left to go. She was somewhere else.
Yeah,
I think
you're right.
she was in Diablo World, I think, is where she went to. So I mean, I don't know.
Well, when you
speculate about who Mom is.
when you can jump planes, I don't think it really matters. You just, where's the hottie at this month? Let's go find her. Whatever. You can also, because of BlizzCon, or at least announced at BlizzCon, grab Destiny 2 for free on battle.net. So PC only, ladies and gentlemen. You're not going to grab it for PlayStation and Xbox, at least not at this time. On your battle.net account, you can get it by November 18th, so you have about 9 or 10 days, depending on when you're watching this, to grab Destiny 2 for free. It is the base game, so you do not get the Forsaken expansion. However, you do not have to buy the 2 DLCs that came out for Destiny 2 if you decide to get Forsaken, because those are now included in Forsaken. So, base game, and if you want the 2 DLCs that came out between launch and Forsaken, you'll get those if you buy Forsaken. Jason, does this make you want to try some Destiny?
Oh, I've totally grabbed it, totally acquired it. Haven't downloaded, may never play it, but at least I have it.
Yeah, I mean, you get to keep it forever.
Yeah,
So-
exactly. So no reason not to. I just claimed it. So
Q, have you claimed it, or is this one that you just don't care about?
I haven't, but that's mostly because I've been dealing with moving and all of that stuff. So I can't do anything online right now anyway.
you don't have to do anything. You just go to your BattleNet and open it up, click yes or whatever, and then you're done.
Every time I try to log into my BattleNet lately to do anything, it doesn't want to do it. So I'm going to have to actually, I think, uninstall and reinstall the BattleNet client.
No, this one didn't do anything for me because I already owned it on the PC, so I got asked out and had to pay cash dollars for it. It really wouldn't have mattered anyway. This Destiny is a game that when I do play it, I'm playing on consoles, and you know what? I do love Forsaken.
You do get a special emblem or something though because you bought it, but maybe that's only the people who bought it on BattleNet.
Woo. I did buy it on BattleNet, so
you get a special emblem that says, "Hey, I spent money on this game."
yeah, that you got.
Mike, you
want
to play? Let's play together.
My PC character is not even through all the story, so that's I could definitely do that.
Not if you're already like halfway through the game.
My PlayStation 4 character is 500 some light or power, so yeah, that one's way ahead. But on PC, yeah, sure, let's do it. I'm gonna turn over this last bit to you, Jason, since this is more your cup of tea than mine. Hearthstone news from BlizzCon.
Woo! New expansion.
Surprise!
Trolls.
It's called Rostakon's Rumble. Yes, very heavily features trolls. Features the big battle arena wherever it is. And I hope to God it has a better mechanic than Magnetic. I have literally on the Hearthstone I haven't played a ton. Only like 50 or so matches since that expansion came out. I've seen Magnetic like 3 times. Like all my games, I've used it once. That's how much it's just a dud mechanic. So hopefully something more interesting in this one.
And of course,
actually they have the Loa, which are kind of like these super powerful these things that cost, like the one they showed cost 25. It's a paladin card, but it reduces by 1 for every spell, for every point of mana you've put in spells throughout the game. So you can get it lower, but it's really big, really powerful, and
Of course, pre-orders are available, and you can grab some extra card packs just by doing the pre-orders as well. And although we don't cover mobile, I think we would be remiss if we did not talk about, for a moment, Diablo Immortal and the absolute internet disappointment shit show that announcement ended up being, Q.
Yeah, so I was actually watching the entire thing because I was writing for both MMO Bum and Game Skinny, and I covered the Diablo thing for them, and it was just like, like they ran over on the opening ceremonies. Like they had some sort of issues in the Hearthstone area, had to come back, so it ran over and actually ran into, like, took over that half an hour that was supposed to be in between and ran into Diablo. So the very first thing that comes out of the mouths of the devs on the Diablo stage is Diablo Immortal, and it's for mobile, and everybody's just like.
Yeah,
like,
it was awkward to say the least.
Like they just, well, I felt kind of bad for them because they're up there announcing stuff and everybody's just kind of staring at them, and then they're going on and they get to like the question and answer portion and everything else, and these words actually came out of their mouths when people were questioning why this was a thing. Don't you people have mobile devices? Like, don't you have phones? And you're just like, okay, of all the things that you could have said that wouldn't have come off as rude.
That was the last thing.
And I get it, like, I get wanting to make a mobile Diablo, especially if they're trying to cater to the Asian community, which is what a lot of people pointed out. Like, this thing is for China. This thing is, well, then don't announce it at an American convention as the highlight thing. Like, there's probably people that traveled here from China, but I guarantee you have more Americans and Europeans sitting in your audience right now, people who want Diablo on PC, than you do people from China, Korea, or Japan. So you literally you did that all wrong. Like, go ahead and make the mobile game. Just don't announce it here. I mean, you remember when Hearthstone was announced, right? Everybody was like, what the hell is that crap? But at least they did it at PAX.
Yeah, it was at a PAX event. It wasn't at BlizzCon when they did that announcement. And Jason, I think Q's dead on right there. Yeah. I don't think anybody is certainly not me, is begrudging Blizzard using the Diablo IP to crack into some more mobile market stuff. I would be surprised and stunned if there weren't World of Warcraft and other items that were already being contemplated on how they can use those IPs and put them. In fact, I saw a story today that said they've been working on other mobile things. I'm not surprised by any of that, and I don't begrudge them any of that. It is a different market. That is not, your hardcore PC Diablo fan base is not the mobile fan base that you're going for there. You're hoping those Diablo players will check it out on their phone simply because it's a Diablo product, but that's not who you're making that product for. And there were rumors too, reports I should say, afterwards, that there was actually supposed to be a Diablo 4 announcement. Not anything, with a release date or anything, just kind of maybe a tease. And it ended up getting cut from the show, and that's why this announcement fell the way it did. And I think, hey, if that's true, that makes a lot of sense. Why they cut it doesn't make sense, but why they had no problem announcing this mobile thing, because they had some big splashy trailer just to show you, hey, Jason, it's in development. Blizz then came out and said that is not true. That wasn't going to happen. So that means this announcement was planned for the audience of your hardcore PC players, whether they're from the United States or not, and that's not the market you're going for here. And Q, we just said, Hearthstone was brought up first at a PAX. Eventually, it became big enough that they brought it into BlizzCon, and maybe Diablo Immortal will too, and that makes sense. But Jason, the whole announcement was just a disaster for Blizz, and ended up hurting their stock price. That's how bad it was.
All it says in about a month is when Command & Conquer Rivals comes out.
Oh, shoot me.
So you think about that announcement. That's what I was thinking of when I first heard about all the crap going on with this, was when that was announced at E3, and just
Yeah, and I don't. Again, nobody's pissed. I don't think that, hey, they're making Diablo into a mobile game.
Oh,
They're
people
pissed.
are pissed.
Well,
People are
okay.
pissed about that.
But I think that. But my point is, I think they're only as pissed as they are because that was all they got shown. They didn't even get told, hey, Diablo 4. We know it's in the works, but that's it.
I mean, they did prior to that. Like, they basically, because I've been writing the Diablo stuff for Game Skinny for a while, they actually did come out and say there's other stuff in the works, and the big things that you want, like, they basically, I can't remember the exact phrasing, but it was basically like the good things have to wait, is the way they phrased it.
Oh,
And
yeah,
this was
they were
before
pretty funny about it. They
BlizzCon.
said something like, good things take time, but evil things take longer, or something like that. It was cute.
But it was basically like, here, the big thing is coming. It's just got to wait.
Yeah.
So we're not announcing that. But they told everybody pretty much ahead, we're not announcing Diablo 3 expansion. We're not announcing Diablo 4. There's these things in the work, but that's not what it is. But still, placement, like, if that were the case, because I sat and watched this entire thing, they should have just stuck WoW in that spot, because there was a huge ton of information that they had. 4 changes, 4 things that are coming in WoW. The WoW What's Next should have been sitting right there, and they should have just put Diablo where StarCraft was, just put it at the end.
Overall, I was pretty disappointed in BlizzCon as a whole, and I know that tends to happen when you're at the BlizzCon a year after the expansion, well, not a year, but after the expansion has launched and you're a little down the road for WoW, you don't have anything. Obviously, I like the Warcraft 3 thing. I really, really like that. The remake of that, or the remaster of that, fantastic. I would have liked to see more of that. If you don't have any Diablo news, all right, fine. Let's talk about Warcraft 3 some more. I don't care about your mobile game. Finishing up here before we go over to the bombs, Jason, you got a chance to exclusively, not exclusively, talk with the Bless Online team. And so what did we learn, if anything, now that they've also put in a new content patch, I think today, in fact, or yesterday. No, it's available today.
It was yesterday.
Was it yesterday?
That came out, yeah.
With a level cap increase to 50, new dungeons. And did we talk to them about their previous statements on free-to-play? How did it all go? How did it all shake out?
I tried to talk to them. But they don't remember saying anything. So, yeah. So, yeah, that was what came up. I asked about that big line. They were tempted into pay to win. That's why they weren't going to be free-to-play originally. So they didn't remember saying that, but even though I linked to it, but whatever. I linked to it afterwards. I didn't show them when I was asking the questions, but
I do that. I'm just gonna let you know I do that to my wife all the time. Right? It's like, well, you said you were gonna do the dishes. I don't remember saying that. I don't remember saying that. I'm not going to do
link to her when she said that?
Yes, I linked.
She
links to me. She's like, here's editor's note. Source, when you said you were going to go do the dishes. That's the way it works around here. Go ahead, Jason.
But anyway,
sorry.
They said, as for post-early access, unfortunately, the number of players dropped after the early access release, despite the high interest in user influx. We believed that players who were enjoying Bless but were experiencing a lot of difficulties felt they'd be better off waiting for improvements at the official launch. Rather than thinking about generating revenue through continuing with a buy-to-play model, we decided to switch to free-to-play in order to bring many new players to the game so that they, along with existing users, could come together and experience Bless as one of the best available free-to-play MMORPGs. So, if you thought it was good, why didn't you do it originally? Well, the answer is because they didn't have enough. They were losing players.
Right, because they were losing players.
We needed more players. It even says when there are so many MMOs available, the lowest barrier to entry when you don't have an established IP is really the best way to do things, which again, didn't you figure that out 6 months ago?
Why wasn't it the best thing initially?
Have there been more MMOs coming out since then?
And it's not like they didn't launch free to play in other areas, right?
Yeah. So, and I mean, they talked a little bit too. I asked them about the whole notion of how they said that early access didn't mesh with players, how there were miscommunications or whatever. And they said, we intended for early access to be an incomplete form of the game. But despite this, players still expected Bless to be more polished at early access, given that we launched before in other regions. In hindsight, this is the one good part about this. They actually did realize they're actually saying it might have been a mistake on them as opposed to the players, so I like this part. In hindsight, we think it may have been better to hold a Founders Access closed beta and launch on Steam fully when we completed and adding and adjusting the content and system changes. Now, in my mind, though, whether you call it a closed beta or a Founders Access or whatever, early access, if you're paying money, they expect a finished product or something akin to it. So, I don't know. It's
Well, at some point, we're going to have a giveaway up for you. We'll be giving away a number of packs, of different founder packs. So head on over to mmobomb.com if you are a blessed player. How's it doing on Steam charts now?
it's down a little bit, like peaking out, like average about 3,000 or so. It was like 3,500 when it first came out. So
I'll just say we've seen worse.
it's not dropping off the map. Yeah, it's better than it was certainly before the free to play.
We've seen worse. Let's slide over and do the weekly bombs. Q, you're up.
Slayer Master PWI. I'd like to give it
No,
to
yours.
Oh, yeah. That's what that was. You know what? I'm giving, because I don't know what my brain is doing. I'm going to give an A-bomb to Comcast. So we moved in here thinking we would have internet because our neighbor / landlady has internet. The guy 2 doors down has internet. There's only 4 apartments in this building. So we're like, okay, we'll have internet. And we called to have it set up to actually get the gig internet and everything. And they come out and they walk all the way around this building and stuff. Turns out this building is not supposed to have internet at all. It's actually tied into another apartment complex. So it's all done wrong. So the guys who came out to do ours, because we asked for the gig speed, was like, yeah, we can't do this. And we're going to just have to give you a number and they'll come out, we'll come out and survey it and see if they can put in a thing so you can have actual proper internet. And I went and got my landlady because technically she's not supposed to have internet either, if this is the case. And she just she went kind of ape shit on them and made them stay here until they finally caved and got a supervisor out here. But we still may not have our own node and real internet for at least 2 weeks.
Oh, jeez.
Maybe more. Depends on when they survey it and decide they can come out here and put hookups up for us and stuff for us to have our own internet. And so I'm on Xfinity Wi-Fi. We have Ethernet cables, and our Karen is right next door to us. So we ran an Ethernet cable out the front door and in her front door so that Monica can play WoW.
Oh, jeez.
I can't play games at all.
What fourth world country are you in that you don't have your building doesn't have internet? Oh, okay. Oh, and
this is the weird thing, right? Like the house right here, I mean, it's literally even on the same property, has internet. The apartments right there have internet. The people across the street have internet. It's literally just this building that they're like, it wasn't on the grid. And it's like, well, there's internet here because somebody put in internet. So now what are you going to do about it? Because you can't make me pay after there was already internet here.
Yep. I'm going to give 2 A-bombs and a dub-bomb. So, first off, challenging friends to a game of Magic the Gathering, Jason, that's just craziness. A dub-bomb to friend challenges finally coming to Magic the Gathering Arena on November 15th. An A-bomb that it wasn't frickin' there on day 1 because friends challenging in Magic the Gathering is the point of Magic the Gathering 99% of the time, unless you're going to your local game store for a draft or a Monday Night Magic or whatever. I do want to add a second A-bomb because I'm really, really heartbroken that Ion 2 is mobile. Boo.
I think Zach said he was more upset by that than he was Diablo Immortal.
Yeah, Zach did. Go ahead, Jason.
Never get your hopes up for Ion. It always ends poorly. I'm going to give a dub-bomb to Out of the Park Baseball 19's Perfect Team Mode. I play Out of the Park 19. It's a baseball sim for hardcore nerds like me, sports ball, And they just launched the beta for their. Basically, it's kind of like Madden Ultimate Team. You collect cards, you make up a team. It's going to be totally pay to win, and I don't care. I still like it.
It's totally pay to win, and
I might even throw money at them. Who knows?
Well, if you are into things like that, but you take football to mean actual football. soccer here in the United States. You have a game coming up too that we just announced on the site, Club Manager 2019, where they let you do a whole slew of those types of things. I know, Jason, that one's not the game you're interested in, but along those lines for our international friends that may be more soccer-minded than baseball-minded. From the viewers, Slayer Master PWI says, I'd like to give a dub bomb to Horror Pack. They gave us Cannibal Holocaust as our 28th Blu-ray exclusive this month, and I literally said, holy shit, after I pulled it out of the bag. Also, a massive A-bomb to Merch Now for not shipping my pre-order of an album until a week after its release. Screw those guys. Should have just ordered from Amazon instead. Slayer, huge fan of your da-bomb. I'm a huge horror movie buff, and that A-bomb sucks. And this just also proves to all of you viewers, you don't have to give us a da-bomb or A-bomb about video games for us to put them on the show. Go ahead, Jason.
I was not aware of this being a thing. Now I'm looking at horrorpack.com, and yeah, you get, I guess it's like Netflix, but you get to keep them.
Yeah.
Apparently. You get to order movies monthly.
Yep.
All right. Joshua Knight says, this da-bomb is a strange one. Da-bomb to Star Trek Online. Whilst, and he says whilst, which I don't think is right, but whatever. It's a good word. I like it. Whilst it isn't a particularly good MMO, some would argue not even a particularly good game, ground combat, look at you, oh my god, ground combat. As a hardcore Trekker, I absolutely love being able to not only continue the storyline of Trek After Voyager, but also get to visit many planets and places from the show. The added benefit of voice actors from the show just makes my nostalgia brain explode. And I will say, having just completed like the most recent Kingdom Hearts games, it's going to be sad they can't have Leonard Nimoy in the future one, in Kingdom Hearts 3.
Yeah.
So, yeah. He also says, A-bomb to Trion. Once upon a time, you were the bastion of good free-to-play gaming. What the damn hell happened? Well, just like with Bless, they probably had fewer players and had to do more shady stuff to make stuff happen. So,
go ahead, Q.
Germa2, I can see Trove doing well with the merger because it basically runs itself for the most part. Every other game, save for ArcAge, which no one really knows what's going on with, is in trouble, in my opinion, of closing up. To bomb the Dauntless for adding not only a fun new behemoth to fight, but a Batman-looking slick set for me to hunt down with all the spooky Halloween stuff I actually like the looks for.
Sweet. Now, we asked you last week in the question of the week, what Trion game do you feel won't be here 1 year from now, and why? And would you want any of them sold to a different company, and if so, who and why? And you had to let us know which game. Had to get Elusive X Treasure in here. We know Elusive's a huge Rift fan, her and her hubby. Don't know how serious you were, but I'd love to be on the cast, but I don't have a camera, so I'd just be audio. Guests are always welcome on the cast. Our only requirements, unfortunately, in your case, are that you have a camera, that you have a quality microphone, that we can at least make out what you're saying, and that you can express. English doesn't have to be your first language, but you have to be able to express your ideas clearly in English to appear on the show.
Also, try not to swear every other word. From hell, I'm looking at you.
Right. Anywho, for the question of the week, I think the purchase was primarily for Trove, to be totally frank. Everything mentioned will survive 6 months, and I'd give ArcAge the full year. Atlas Reactor, sadly, will be gone very soon. As for Rift, heartbreaking as it is to say, I don't believe that it will continue. There was a rumor that the game directors might have kept their jobs, so I held out a little hope, but that too has been dashed. Maybe it sees the year, but probably not much more. Even if it does go on, it won't be in any meaningful way. I hate to say it, but I think maintenance mode or close to it will be the best that we can hope for. I just have the feeling it won't even get to that. I haven't had the heart to log on since the news broke. Without the dev team that loved this game, I don't know if I will again. It was part of the charm. In conclusion, a moment of silence for the 7 years I spent in Talara. Elusive wrote a heartbreaking letter, actually, like when you read it and you know how much that family loves Rift. And I had to edit it for this, but I think I still encapsulated Elusive's thoughts here. P.S. You're right. I was grouchy when I wrote that comment last week. Mm-hmm. I'd just gotten the news. Now I'm just sad. So, Elusive not thinking anything really besides Trove and ArcAge past a year. Go ahead, Jason.
Solace in Rage says, I've had bad experiences with Gamigo, and I've heard awful things about Gamigo, but Trion was already managing their games so poorly that I stopped playing them. Considering that, the worst Gamigo can do is fail to improve the properties, in which case I continue not to play them. I'm actually willing to go take a look at the games under Gamigo's stewardship in a few weeks, something I would not have been doing under Trion.
Well, we'll have to see what kind of stewardship it's even going to be. We don't know yet. Go ahead, Q.
Doggy V72, if anyone can fix Arcade, it would not be Gamigo.
I love that comment. Like in my head, it goes, if anybody could fix Arcade, it wouldn't be Gamigo. That's
It
just
won't be XL Games either, I don't think.
right.
They'd have to want to fix it.
Proximity HD. Isn't Gamigo just Area Games, or are they two different companies? Nope, same company. They merged a little while ago. If you go to Gamigo's site, it says Gamigo Games and then has an Area Games search bar right underneath it, actually. Go ahead, Jason.
Kevin Sharp says, I'd already shared some of my thoughts on the question of the week in an email response on the article about the purchase, but I've had the benefit of hearing your thoughts on the cast and thinking about it more. So here are my thoughts. Atlas Reactor, gone in 6 months. Frankly, I think that's a little optimistic, but unless there's a huge turnaround with cash shop tweaks, etc. There's too much competition with Overwatch and others that frankly do it better. I don't know if it competes with Overwatch. I think it just competes with everything and doesn't match up to any of them. Trove, here in a year and beyond. By far, this is financially one of Trion's best successes, and there isn't a whole lot out there quite like it. I think Gamigo can keep it going and working well for them. Defiance/Defiance 2050. I think the 2050 will be around for the next year as they try and massage the cash shop. And other aspects to get some life in it, but the original Defiance will be sunset in a year. I didn't even think about that. There's two separate games technically running. I still kind of think they're a package deal. I think they both go. Now comes the hard to say ones. Arcade. I'm not sure how interested Gamigo will be in continuing the relationship with XL Games. One of the players' biggest gripes is not having enough control over the title for Trion to make changes that matter to the Western audience. And the constant items and content that were left out from the Korean patches that they had over there, and the same patches. I'm going to say Arcade will be here in 6 months for now under Gamigo, but XL itself may shop for another publisher within a year. Rift, I feel like it's on life support. I think 6 months from now, Gamigo will keep it around as they try and tweak the cash shops to get the classic audience on Rift Prime boosted. But a year from now, it may start to go under serious changes, such as maintenance mode, if it doesn't perform well enough for Gamigo.
Wow, I mean, it seems like everybody is in the same thought bubbles on this one. Q, go ahead.
I asked Neko. Trove definitely will exist. It has charm that appeals to younger audiences and is available on consoles. Rift might get some experimental phase like with their shop, but I believe the rest will die.
Finishing up, George Knox says Trove is most likely the one that's going to keep going, in my opinion, as I think that this game that Gamigo would be most interested in considering the type of game they have. Arcade is likely going to stick around for at least a while longer, either under Gamigo or XL as the self-publisher, or maybe even XL decides to cut ties and give a chance to some other company entirely. Rift is like all of us just have the same thoughts on this, like even XL shopping it around. Rift is likely going to last at least a year, but not much will be done with it in terms of new content. Original Defiance is likely going to shut down, and 2050 is going to go on for at least a couple of months. Atlas Reactor is likely going to shut down after a month or two. I think even that is optimistic at this point.
I don't know if it makes it to the end of the year.
I expect the shutdown announcement on Atlas Reactor every day. Every day.
Well, they could make the announcement and say it's going to go out in January or something, but that's about the extent of it, yeah.
All that said, it is very likely that all of Trion Games will be going into maintenance mode unless Gamigo uses some of their own staff to help out with that. Overall, I'm not a fan of Gamigo in general, as their games are more often than not heavily monetized and the servers are buggy, and their customer support is not that good from what I've had dealt with them, so I predict dark times ahead for these games if they continue to go on. I haven't seen a single person go, this is awesome, this is great. The closest I've seen to it is they can't screw it up any more than Trion Worlds already did.
Oh, I know someone who thinks it'll be great. Gamigo. We've cut our staff. That's wonderful.
I still think that a lot of it is they purchased it for the assets. They just purchased it for assets for other games.
Yep. The one thing I would say is, where does this leave, by the way, and it's something we didn't even talk about, where does this leave the Marvel Heroes assets and all the assets they took from Gazillion? The Trion Worlds bought up off of Gazillion. Did Gamigo buy those?
Maybe that's why they bought. Maybe those assets are what they were actually after.
Well, then they should have bought them a year ago when they were available. Buying all of Trion. That'd be a really stupid decision, it seems. I don't know.
Question of the week this week. With open beta in South Korea starting, I want to know now, will Lost Ark make it to the West? Why or why not? And if you say it will, I want you to tell me when. We've played this game with Bless Online for years. It finally did make it. So let's see where your predictions fall for Lost Ark. Until next week, Q, where can everybody find you?
I don't know, somewhere in the abyss.
She still has a Twitter, she just can't look at it anymore.
Jason.
You find me on Twitter at Winter Informal, streaming at twitch.tv/JasonWinter, and someday I'll put something else up on my wall, I swear.
I'm Mike Byrne. You can follow me personally on Twitter right there at magicman1. But more importantly, while you're there, follow at MMOBomb for all the latest tweets, news, interviews, first look videos, giveaways, and more. Don't forget to answer our weekly question. Put your dub bombs and A-bombs in the comments below for us to read on next week's show. And until then, stay safe. We'll see you on the servers.